Good afternoon. My name is Father Jonathan Jergens. For some of you who may not know me, I'm the parochial vicar here, or assistant vicar, and on behalf of our pastor, Father Barry Steckschulte, I'd like to welcome all of you, our parishioners and our guests alike, as we join together to celebrate the most sacred day of the year, the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. And I think that every Easter is an incredible opportunity to consider the very first question that Jesus asked his disciples when he began his ministry on the shores of Galilee. What are you looking for? Now that might seem strange. It's Easter, right? Like, we've gathered here to celebrate the resurrection. Why would we go all the way back to the very beginning? It's because ultimately the meaning of Easter, the meaning of the resurrection for all of us, depends on the answer to that question. What are you looking for will come to define who you are. And absolutely everything depends on our answer. And make no mistake, every single person, without exception, is looking for something in their lives. Maybe that's why some of you are here today. I mean, let's be honest. There are plenty of other things you could be doing, other things that are at least potentially more exciting than this Mass, right? Things that are definitely more entertaining than this homily even. Plenty of stuff, right? But you're here. And I think if we tried to answer it in a single word, that word would be happiness. Happiness is the one thing all of us agree on. All of us want it. But none of us necessarily agrees on how best to obtain happiness. Some think they'll find happiness in power, wealth, prestige. Others by pursuing the various pleasures that the world has to offer. Still, others will believe that happiness can be found not in those material things, the power, wealth, pleasure, but they start to seek for it in knowledge. They start to ask, what is really true? We have been created, it's in our nature, with an infinite, insatiable desire to know. We want to know everything. We're always seeking more knowledge. Many seek for that knowledge in science, medicine, technology, other fields of study, but even those things pose problems for us. We weren't here for billions and billions of years and then poof, we're here? At one point, nothing existed. And then somehow, almost it seems by magic, things came into being? How? Science and technology probe those questions, and they can come to some limited, finite understanding of those questions, of those hows. But as important as those questions are, there's an even more important one, the question of meaning. It's the one question that is so difficult to understand, that science can never explain. Why? Stephen Hawking wrote a book entitled The Theory of Everything, but he never wrote the book The Why of Everything, because science doesn't have that answer. It's not in the domain of science to answer questions of meaning. It was never its purpose. Pilate asked the same question in a little bit of a different way. What is truth? So knowledge leads us to some measure of happiness. We're always seeking after it, but we're still lacking something. It's incomplete. The surest route to happiness then is love. Like truth, all of us have been created with that infinite desire for love. That's why our culture is obsessed with it. And the church admittedly was a little bit of a killjoy, I guess you could say, this year with love, because Ash Wednesday was also Valentine's Day, right? So we kind of ruined that one for you this year, right? But I think all of us can agree, love is often desired far more than knowledge. And stories have an incredible way of bringing this to light. If you don't believe me, watch The Big Bang Theory. Because for 12 seasons, 4 of the smartest dumb people you have ever seen in your life, right? Physicists, doctorates, all of that. All they ever did for 12 seasons was search for love. Physics is great, right? But Penny, nah. Yeah, Penny was so much better, right? At the end of the day, you can have all the wealth, power, pleasure that you can grab onto. You can acquire all of the knowledge you want. If love is missing, then nothing else really matters, does it? So we're all looking, we're all searching for happiness, and ultimately happiness consists not in the things of this world, as good as they are, but ultimately in truth and in love. And the church for 2,000 years has proposed this point to be the central tenet of the faith. Every teaching, every doctrine, law, command, every single sacrament is ordered towards this reality, because truth and love are not some abstract pieces of knowledge or information. They're not feelings or sentiments. They come together and are united in a single person, and his name is Jesus Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life. He is God incarnate, and as John says, God is love. He is ultimately what every single person in this world is looking for, even if they don't know it yet. He is the answer to every question you have, the fulfillment of every single desire. He is the key, the focal point, and the goal of all of human history. He's everything. And so our faith teaches us that God put us in this world. What our meaning is a single purpose: to know, to love, and to serve him. And by doing so, to one day enter into paradise with him. Why? Because that's the only way to happiness. But here's the thing, and we almost always gloss over it, or we even refuse to give an answer to it. It's the one thing that drives so many people away from the church, especially so many young people. Because if you take that line just by itself, that God created us to know, love, and serve him, it doesn't sound all that enticing, does it? Maybe it sounds just a little arrogant, like a guilt trip. As if he made us to be little minions or mindless creatures, or even worse, slaves. And there are many religions, past and present, that paint humanity and God in exactly that light, that God is just some cruel master who demands obedience and respect, or he'll just send us all to hell. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like happiness to me. It sounds like manipulation. It sounds like a lie. But nothing could be further from the truth. Because unlike any other religious system that you could imagine, God chose to make those words first his own. And he lived them when he sent his son into the world. He wouldn't ask anything of us that he wasn't first willing to do himself. Our Lord wanted to unite himself with us so profoundly that he became one of us. And he did it so that he could know us as we are, and so we could know him. He took on our very flesh. He breathed the same air. He was born of a mother. He grew up. He took on every aspect of our frail human condition, everything except for the one thing that never truly belonged in the first place: sin. So he knows you better than you know yourself in every facet of your being, physically, spiritually. He knows you. And he did it for 33 years. It wasn't just like for a moment. Toil, hunger, poverty, he knew all of them. Loss, pain, suffering. And after enduring every hardship of life that any of us endure, he chose to do something unspeakable. God chose to die. And not just any death. Far worse than that. He chose to experience an entire world's worth of hatred, betrayal, denial. He absorbed every curse, insult, and spittle from his own people. He gave his hands and his feet to a Roman centurion who worshiped an emperor, who drove spikes through them. And then he hung there for 6 hours. And the words he uttered were, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." And then after being mocked and derided, and in front of his own mother, he died. God died. If there's only one reasonable explanation for why God would do something so unspeakable, so insane: love. No one dies for someone they hate. No one dies for an acquaintance. You only die for that which you know and that which you love, something you love more than you love yourself. And God could do no less, because God is love. So God knows you. And he loves you more deeply than you could possibly imagine. And then 3 days later, today, he rose from the dead. And the first words he spoke, they weren't words of judgment and condemnation. They weren't words seeking power or dominance. He said, peace. Peace. God said peace after we murdered him. No one else in this world, living or dead, has known you and has loved you like this man did. And this man is God. And everything he did it for you. And if you don't believe me, look at the cross. Because on that cross, believe it or not, hangs a happy man. Because by that cross, he redeemed the world. He saved us. He saved you. Each and every one of you. So if our faith teaches us that God put us in this world to know, to love, and to serve him, it's only because he did it first for us. He came so that we could know him. He died so that we would know that his love has no limit, not even death. And he served us so that we could go out and share that love that he has for all of us to a world in darkness, to a world without love, and spread it to the ends of the world. That's the whole point. If you've ever wondered, what is the point of Christianity? That's it. To know, to love, and to serve, because he knew, loved, and served us first. But what he did ultimately requires a response, because I can't impose love in any of your lives. I can't force you to love me. I can't force you to love your family or friends. Love requires freedom, or it's not love. That way, love is offered, and it always requires a response. A man gets down on one knee and says, I love you, will you marry me? It's not a done deal until the woman says yes. Love always requires a response, either an acceptance or a rejection. And so we have a response to give. And I don't know what your response will be, but I do know this, that it hangs. Your response hangs on an answer to a single question. What are you looking for?